What is up, guys? My name is Lex. Today we are playing somewhere we have never played on this poker vlog, the Isle Casino in Pompano Park. They're having a World Series of Poker circuit event here. I'm going to be playing the $1,700 main event, one bullet, over $500,000 guaranteed. Should be more in the prize pool other than that, but haven't been here since August of 2019 from Brad and Andrew meetup game, so it's been a while since I've been here. Let's see how we do. Let's get down to the action. Let's get to the table. Let's go. It is a packed house here at the Isle Casino for the World Series of Poker Circuit event number 9, which is the $1,700 main event. They had flights on Thursday and Friday, and today is Saturday, and this is my shot. It's a 30,000 chips starting stack. I buy into level number 4. Let's get started. With the blinds at 300, 500, I don't play a hand for a couple rounds before there's a limp for 500, a raise to 1800, and I look down on the cutoff at ace 10 offsuit. Now, this is a hand I think I want to be re-raising or folding. Probably want to be taking the aggressive route if I want to play this hand, so I decided to bump it up here in the cutoff and re-raise to 4,800 chips. Back over to the big blind who folds, the limper folds, but the middle position original raiser ends up making the call. We are heads up in position, our first hand here at the Isle Casino main event, and it comes out pretty great for us. 10, 10, 6, 2 clubs flopping trips with the best kicker. He checks over to me, and on this board, I think I want to bet small. He can have a lot of pocket pairs, some flush draws, maybe some ace high hands that want to call. So I bet 2,500. Action over on my opponent, and he very quickly folds. So no more action there with our trips. He must have had a king or queen high hand, but chips earned in tournaments are very, very important. So not going to complain here. Our chip stack is now about 35,000. No more hands played in this level. We now made it to level number 5, and I peel back red jacks in the hijack. I raise here to 1,500 off blinds of 300, 600. The cutoff player makes the call for 1,500, which is a brand new player who just sat down to the table with a fresh 30,000 chip stack. The big blind makes the call as well, and she's a short stack player with just about 8,000 chips left. She recently just lost a big pot with pocket jacks. She could be a little bit steamed up and maybe making a loose call pre-flop. Either way, we're going 3 ways to the flop. Oddly enough, the flop comes out 10, 10, 6, 2 spades. Basically identical to the first flop and the first hand we played. Kind of odd. Big blind checks, and I continue for a 2,200 chip bet. The cutoff player, like I said, with around 30,000 chips in his stack, pretty quickly makes the call for this bet. So I put him on a pocket pair, maybe a flush draw, possibly a slow play 10. The action now is back over on the big blind, the woman who just lost with pocket jacks, and she decides all of her chips are going in the middle. She rips it all in for about 8,100 chips. Now with the action back over on me, and I am kind of in a sketchy spot here, I think it's possible we could be beat here sometimes by a 10, but like I said, I think she might be shipping it in here with some pocket pairs, with a 6, with a flush draw. Considering she just lost a big pot, I don't think I can fold, and with a player behind me just calling on the flop, I don't think he has a 10, so I decided to just go with my hand as well. I ripped my whole entire stack in there. The cutoff player snap calls my all in, which doesn't make me feel too good. I show pocket jacks, and the big blind player with a short stack shows ace 10 for trips. The cutoff player though shows ace deuce of spades for the nut flush draw. Unfortunate for us, we're basically drawing dead against a big blind in the main pot, which is around 30,000 chips. But there is a big side pot between me and the cutoff who has the nut flush draw. There's around 20,000 chips in the side pot for us. So if I can hold in that pot, I'll still have over 30,000 chips in my stack. So we're looking for no ace, no spade, maybe a jack one time.
Jack? Golden. Yep.
Yeah. Nice hand. As expected, we probably weren't going to be winning the main pot, but we did end up holding against ace deuce of spades to win the side pot, and now we have around 38,000 chips. Poker tournaments are much, much different than the cash games that I play every single day of the week. Poker tournaments are a lot of flipping, a lot of variance, a lot of 50-50 spots, and you kind of just have to go with your hand sometimes, try to build up a stack. Maybe in a cash game, if I got raised on a 10-10-6 board with pocket jacks, I could find a fold, but in a tournament, you just kind of have to go with your hand and hope for the best. The one great thing about tournaments is that you can score a huge profit if you can run well, and another thing is that the field is usually fairly soft. It's a lot of people looking to get lucky who aren't really grinding out poker for a living. My table so far has been pretty good, and it gets better when I look down at ace-king offsuit in the cutoff. I raise here to 1,500 at 300-600 blinds. Back over to the big blind who 3-bets me to 5,800. A little bit of background information on my opponent here in the big blind. I've watched him play for about 2.5 hours so far, and he seems to be playing fairly passive pre-flop. Not too many 3-bets, and haven't seen him 4-bet basically at all. I did watch a hand where he 3-bet pocket queens. The board came out ace-king high, and he ended up hero calling a very large bet on the river. So seems to me that he's re-raising very strong hands pre-flop, and then is not afraid to hero call big bets either. I think he's just a standard older recreational man here in Florida, which means when I get 3-bet out of the big blind with no other dead money in the middle, I think he's going to have a very, very strong hand. Probably jacks, queens, kings, aces, ace-king. So with ace-king offsuit here in position against a very tight 3-betting range, around 60 big blinds deep, I think our only option here is to call. Sometimes I could 4-bet, but getting jammed on would just be disgusting. So I elect to call, and we go heads up to a flop. The board is probably one of the best boards you can get when holding ace-king offsuit, king 8-6 2 diamonds. We flop top pair, top kicker, and the backdoor king high flush draw. With the action over on the 3-better and the big blind, he continues for a 4,000 chip bet. Now, like I said pre-flop, I think he has jacks, queens, kings, aces, and ace-king. So against his range, I think a call is the best option. It's still possible he could have aces here. He could maybe be c-betting with hands like jacks or queens. So I don't think a raise is necessary, especially holding the king of diamonds. So I make the call for 4,000, and we go here to the turn. 9 of diamonds, now bringing 3 diamonds out on the board. Obviously, this is somewhat of a sketchy turn card, but given my opponent's perceived range pre-flop, I don't think this 9 is going to help him at all. I don't think he's 3-betting pocket 9s pre-flop, and really the only hand I think he could have would be ace-queen suited if he has a flush here. I don't think he's 3-betting suited connectors, suited broadways. I don't even think he's 3-betting hands like ace-10 suited or ace-jack suited. So when he continues for a small bet according to the size of the pot of only 5,000 chips, I immediately put him on just a 1-pair hand. The big blind is betting 5,000 into over a 20,000 chip pot, so less than a 1/4 size bet. I do want to go back to another hand I watched him play just about an hour ago where he got re-raised on the flop and he called with a straight draw. The turn he hit the nut straight and his opponent checked to him, and he checked back the nut straight on the turn when there was a lot of flush draws out there as well. So this opponent is definitely capable of putting in some traps, which makes me feel like it's less likely that he has the ace high flush here. I think if he had the ace high flush, he may try to trap me again and check, or maybe bet a little bit bigger. So versus this 5,000 chip bet, I put him on 3 hands, aces, ace king, or maybe a blocker bet here with pocket queens with the queen of diamonds. With all that being said, I elect to call 5,000. We go heads up to the 9 on the turn. Now pairing the board, the big blind now continues for a bet. He doesn't check over to me, but he continues with a small sizing again, an even smaller sizing compared to the size of the pot. He bets out 6,000 here into a 31,000 chip pot. So roughly less than a 20% pot size bet on the river here. These sizings that he's using here are quite confusing to me. 1, because I play mostly cash games, and 2, because I think he would be betting a little bit bigger if he did have a strong hand. When he's betting so small here, it's just screaming that he's trying to get to showdown. It just seems like he's somewhat blocker betting here. We could rule out hands like jacks or queens, but you never know with Florida recreational players. He could just be trying to set his own price with a blocker bet with a hand like pocket queens with a queen of diamonds. I do think he could take this sizing with a hand like ace king. If he had aces though, I think he may be going a little bit bigger here on the river. I do think if he had the nut flush, he would be going a little bit bigger. We have the king of diamonds, so we block him from having the king high flush. So now I have to figure out, should I call 6,000 or should I raise for value? Now, like I said before, this particular player is pretty much a call station. He called a big bet on the river with pocket queens on an ace king high board just about an hour ago. So if I do raise for value here on the river, it's definitely possible for us to get called by a worse hand. Also, by raising, I could put pressure on a hand like ace king that is chopping against my hand and maybe even get him to fold out a chop. If I raise, I could potentially be value owning myself up against aces or maybe ace queen of diamonds, but like I said, I already kind of ruled out him from having the nut flush. So with all that being said, versus this very small sizing on the turn and on the river, I have 22,000 chips left in my stack. I decided to go for max value here and go all in. That might not be good. Nice hand. Good game. I go all in and get snap called by red pocket aces. Well, when you see the results, of course, you probably think this is a huge punt, and I will agree with you. After looking back in the hand, I think a call is just the only option. At the time, I felt like maybe he could hero call me with a worse hand or possibly get him off a chop, but in a tournament, you just gotta save your chips. Now, obviously, this is a huge cooler, aces versus ace king in a 3-bet pot on a king high board. However, I don't think we had to lose our entire stack here. One thing that's different between cash games and tournaments is that bet sizings are a lot smaller in tournaments. I took his bet sizings as weakness when in reality he was probably betting the correct amount on this particular board with his particular hand. Either way, this Florida recreational player completely owned me and we are out of the $1,700 main event here at the Isle Casino. Well, that is not how we wanted that one to turn out. I ended up playing 3 hands, only like 2 levels of this tournament. Busted out there ace king versus aces. Obviously, this happens all the time in tournaments. You're gonna bust out a lot before you can cash, but I do think it was a punt there going all in with ace king. If I would have just called, which I probably should have, I think I would have had like 28 or 30 big blinds left, which is huge for a tournament. But I decided to go for a little bit of a thin value shove, and it didn't work out this time, but that's how you get better. You can learn from your mistakes and try to get better for next time. Over the last year and a half, I basically have shared with you guys a ton of things that have gone on in my life or that is going on in my life. So I share with you guys a story of how I moved from 1-2 to 2-5 to 5-10, stories of how I went broke, stories of big hands that changed my career. I took you guys on a huge road trip around the country to Texas, Vegas, Los Angeles, and then back to Florida. I shared my thoughts on haters and negative talk. I take you guys through basically the huge swings that I have in poker playing big games, but there is one thing that I really haven't talked too much about on this channel, and today we're gonna change that. And that thing is this guy, Rogue. Don't fall asleep on me. My little dog, my buddy, I traveled around the whole entire country with him. I spend all of my off time with him as well. He's my son, and I talk a lot on this channel about myself, what I do, you know, big hands I play, how I'm feeling, but I don't talk too much about him, and I haven't really given you guys too much information on him as well. So let's rewind all the way back to 2015. In 2015, I was a junior at West Virginia University. I had a girlfriend who was in med school at West Virginia University, and we were both into dogs, but she couldn't really have a dog because she was so busy with work. I didn't have a dog at the time, so we were kind of thinking, you know, maybe we should get a dog. We can split the duties and we could try to do that. So we decided, you know, let's try to get a puppy. It'd be really fun. Hey, don't fall asleep. I'm talking about you. let's try to get a puppy, it'll be fun. So I started going on the internet and researching, you know, the best dogs, what you should do. And I started to think, you know what, instead of getting a purebred dog, one, I didn't have the money to pay for a purebred dog. And two, I kind of liked the feeling of rescuing a dog. I rescued a dog in high school and she was great. We had another rescue greyhound when I was in middle school as well. So why not rescue a dog? It was cheaper as well. So I'm on the internet, Googling, looking up places, trying to find dogs that I liked. I wanted a male dog, a smaller dog, a lab shepherd, you know, golden retriever, something like that. I found a bunch of dogs that I liked and I would send them messages like, hey, is this puppy available? And it felt like every single time I sent in a message, the dog wasn't available. Until about 3 weeks into the search, I saw this great picture of like 6 or 7 little puppies all curled up next to each other, and I immediately emailed the rescue agency and they said, we have 1 puppy left. He's the smaller bunch of the group. He's a male and he's available immediately. So, well, not quite immediately, but he's available. So I said, look, I'll take him, let's do it. It was in Ohio, so we filled out all the paperwork, we sent in the payment, I think it was like $250, and they told me, look, he's gotta go through the neutering process, he has to get his shots, but should be about 2 or 3 weeks, and then you can come grab him. So I was super excited. I was confirmed that I could get a puppy, and first puppy that I've ever had in my life. I was really, really excited about it until about 3 or 4 days after this, they send me an email and they say, unfortunately, every single one of the puppies have come down with a sickness or an infection or disease. I can't quite remember exactly what it was, but they're all at the vet right now and they're not doing too good. They gave them like a 30% chance of living. So immediately, I remember this moment, way back in 2015, I'm at the gym, and I'm sitting there looking at my phone at this email. This is a puppy that I just confirmed I could get 3 or 4 days ago. Now they're telling me that all the puppies in the litter are sick, they're at the vet, and they're like fighting for their lives because they have worms or something was going on. So there's nothing I can do but wait, and about 3 or 4 days later I get an email and they said, all of the puppies in the litter are dead. They all died. No, I'm just kidding. They didn't die. They told me that all the puppies are okay. They got the shots and everything was good. They recovered. He got neutered, and I have to wait about a week or so for him to heal up and feel better. So thankfully, all the puppies were good. And about a week or so later, it was March 5th, 2015, which is the date that I have here on my arm. For those of you guys wondering, that's the day that I got this guy. So I distinctly remember this day, March 5th, 2015. It was snowing. I had to drive from West Virginia to Ohio. Don't exactly know what part of Ohio, but it was supposed to be like a 2-hour drive. It turned out to be like a 4-hour drive because it was snowing and people were sliding all over the roads, and it was quite miserable. But eventually I got there and I walked into the rescue agency, and there was about 6 or 7 puppies all in a little pen. And I walked up and immediately this dog came up and started licking me in the face, and they go, that's your dog. His name's Whizzer. That's what they called him, Whizzer. And I go, well, I'm gonna call him Rogue because I was really into CrossFit then, and that is the big supplier. I just thought it was a cool name. So I'm like, this is Rogue? And they're like, yeah, this is your dog. So I picked him up. He was a little guy. He was licking my face, and I took him out to my car. They told me, look, he hasn't really been outside, has never peed or pooped outside. He's always been inside. He's been using the puppy pads and all that stuff. So I take him into my car, I put him on the seat, and immediately he comes up and he's licking my face. But he never cried, he never whined, he was never barking, and about 5 minutes into the drive home, he's just fast asleep right next to me. So I'm like, wow, this is amazing. I'm listening to music and he's sleeping like a perfect little puppy. So we drive about an hour down the road and I go to a gas station. I'm like, I should let him out, go to the bathroom. So I take him out of the car. It's now snowing, probably 2 or 3 inches on the ground, and I place him down on the ground to let him go to the bathroom, and he's never gone to the bathroom outside before. And he's just looking up at me with his like puppy eyes, kind of trembling, and he just pees into the snow and looks up at me, and I'm like, all right, that's good. So I pick him up, go to the car, get all the way back to my apartment in West Virginia. I bring him in. My roommates love him, of course. My girlfriend at the time was working, so she couldn't immediately see him. And he meets all my roommates, cute little puppy. He's obviously fun to play with and stuff. But I was working at a bar during this time. I was a bar back at a downtown bar in West Virginia. So I had to leave to go to work. So I put Rogue in the crate that we got him, and my girlfriend was gonna come pick him up like 45 minutes to an hour later. So I put him in there, and he doesn't really do much. He doesn't cry, he doesn't bark. I leave for work, and about an hour later, I get a text from her, and it says, Rogue was covered in shit. And I'm like, what? Apparently, he had shit in the crate, and then like stepped and rolled around in it. So the first sight she got to see of this new puppy was him covered in poop. So I felt bad for her. She had to clean them all up. He had to throw away that crate. But you know, he was a great dog coming up. He was really easy to train. I would take him outside like every 20 minutes to an hour, take him to the same spot, let him pee, let him poop, have him come back in, give him a treat, a lot of positive reinforcement. And within about 2 or 3 weeks, he was not, you know, having any accidents inside. I would take him to the gym all the time as well while I was working. I would tie him up on a little kettlebell, and he would sleep there, and he would be able to play with some of the other dogs or whatever. I would take him to the dog park in West Virginia as well. And as he got older, I started to notice that he became very skittish and scared of new people. He didn't like to be touched or even close to anybody new. So he's very, very picky about who touches him and who's close to him. So he liked my ex-girlfriend, he liked me, he liked my 3 roommates that lived in my apartment, but he didn't really like anybody else. He liked my roommate's girlfriend, and that was about it. So out of all the people that I had seen at the gym and everything like that, Rogue liked about 5 people, and he'd only let about 5 people touch him. He wasn't nasty or aggressive. He was just kind of timid, kind of scared. I think maybe it had something to do with his upbringing or him being rescued or something. He's also deathly afraid of little people. Anybody below the height of like 3 foot, he is just nowhere, he's out of there. He's more scared of men too, like men with hats, you know, taller men. He likes women more. I mean, I don't blame him. But anyway, I ended up moving down to Florida here in 2016, so about 1.5 years after I had him. And I was a little bit nervous because I didn't know if he would be friendly with any of the people in the gym. So I brought him into the gym, and immediately he met up with Max, who is Noah Olson's dog. Noah Olson is a great CrossFit athlete. I've known him for 6 or 7 years now, trains in Miami, Florida, and that's the guy I trained with while I was competing heavily in CrossFit. He's a world-class CrossFit athlete, super nice guy as well. But he has a dog, a golden retriever, Max, and Rogue loved Max, would play around with him, and immediately Rogue loved Noah, which I thought was crazy because over the 2 years I've had him, he hasn't let any guys touch him except for my 3 roommates and me. That's it. That's the only people that could touch him. And he meets Noah, and he's best friends with Noah. He's best friends with Noah's girlfriend. It was kind of funny. But anyway, as he grew older, he's just, you know, one of the best dogs. Like, as you can see, he's just sitting here. He's now kind of barking about people in the hallway. But he's a great dog, listens to me. He's a great sleeper. He doesn't wake me up early in the morning. He loves to go on walks and runs. He's not too good at fetching things. If I throw something, he'll get it and then be like, I don't really care. But I wanted to tell you guys a story about that. I wanted to tell you guys a story of how I got this little guy. You see him in a lot of my videos, and you know, he's a huge part of my life. He's gonna be turning 8 in December in just about 2 months. So yeah, that's it. That's Rogue. That's the story of Rogue. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that like button. Comment down below for me and for Rogue, and I'll see you next time. No, that's not how I end the videos. How do I end the videos? Until next time, I'll see you.